Well, after a thrilling divisional round weekend, we are on to Championship Sunday in the NFL. It is Jacksonville and New England in the AFC, Minnesota and Philadelphia in the NFC. Let's go ahead and talk about both games now quickly, shall we? Why don't we start in New England, where the Patriots will host the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pats, an 8.5-point favorite at BetSafe, 47 the total in this game. Let's face it, most expect New England to win this game fairly easily. Not many people giving Jacksonville a chance. But you know what? I think this might be a good matchup for the Jaguars. If you're not too familiar with this Jacksonville team, you should know they have a great defense. Second in the league this year in both yards allowed and points allowed, and first against the pass. Now, I know they surrendered some big plays last week, gave up some yards and points to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but if you think this defense is in any way overrated or vulnerable because of that game, you might be in for a surprise on Sunday. And let's look at the last 6 playoff games the Patriots have lost. Look, they don't lose very often, but since 2009, they have been beaten 6 times in the postseason. 2 seasons ago, 2015 at Denver, 2013 at Denver, 2012 at home to Baltimore, 2011 in the Super Bowl to the New York Giants, 2010 at home to the New York Jets, and 2009 at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the one common denominator with all those 6 teams is they all have great defenses, and only one of them, that 2013 Denver team, really has a great offense. Certainly, the New York Giants team that made the Super Bowl in 2011 had a very good offense, but really, only the Denver Broncos were an elite offense. Now, in those 6 losses, the Patriots didn't produce more than 21 points in any of them, so there's a formula out there to beat the New England Patriots in the postseason, and it does not necessarily involve a great quarterback and a high-scoring offense. It involves a defense that can play press coverage on the receivers, rough up Tom Brady a little bit, and slow down this great Patriots offense, and I believe that's exactly the type of defense that the Jacksonville Jaguars have. Now you look at the other side of the ball, the Patriots defense did improve over the course of the season, but they're vulnerable against the run. 20th in the NFL against the run. They surrender 4.7 yards per carry. Only one team in the NFL, the LA Chargers, allowed more yards per carry than this New England team. And if there's one thing the Jaguars offense can do, it is run the football. Jacksonville, number 1 in the NFL this year in rushing yards per game, averaging just over 140 yards per game on the ground. So look, I believe this is a good matchup for the Jags. Now, I know the game's in New England. I know this is Tom Brady versus Blake Bortles, but I do believe this Jacksonville team is the type of team that has given the Belichick, Brady, Patriots teams trouble in the past. And I think Jacksonville is going to go into Foxborough on Sunday and play a good game. Not sure if they're going to win outright, but you give me those 8.5 points all day long. Jacksonville plus 8.5, my recommendation in this one. Moving on now to Philadelphia, where the Eagles will host the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings a 3.5-point favorite at BetSafe, 37 the total in this game. Vikings, of course, coming off that thrilling last-second win over the New Orleans Saints. A real heartbreaker if you're on the Saints like I was. The Eagles, meanwhile, gutted out a 15-10 win over the Atlanta Falcons. And, you look at these two teams right now as they're presently constituted, with Nick Foles at quarterback for the Eagles, and I think these teams very similar. They both rely on their defense. They like to run the football on offense. Good skill position talent, but quarterbacks who are more game managers than difference makers. And yes, I know Nick Foles played pretty well last week, completed 23 of 30 passes for 246 yards, no touchdowns though, and the Eagles still scored just 15 points. The Eagles averaging just 11.3 points per game their last 3 contests. Foles, of course, starting all 3 of those games. And on Sunday, they'll face a Minnesota defense that was the best in the NFL by almost any measure this season. The Vikings leading the league in both yards allowed and points allowed. They surrendered just 15.8 points per game. We saw them last week shut out that great New Orleans offense in the first half. Now, the Saints did come back in the second half. Drew Brees made some plays, but Brees will not be on the field on Sunday, and this Philadelphia offense cannot compare to the New Orleans offense. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. The Eagles have a good defense themselves. They're 4th in the league in total defense, but they're not as good as Minnesota on that side of the ball, and they do have a clear weakness. This Philadelphia secondary, mediocre. 17th in the NFL against the pass. They were victimized several times this season. Most recently, Week 15, they surrendered 434 passing yards to Eli Manning. So Case Keenum will have some opportunities down the field in this game, and I expect the Vikings to hit on a couple of big pass plays. Now look, I do not think this is going to be a high-scoring game. That's not breaking news when you see a total like 37. But I do feel like Minnesota's the better team here. I think they're better on both sides of the ball right now. So I like the Vikings' chances to go into Philadelphia, pull out the win, and cover the 3.5-point number. Do want to mention some interesting price boosts that BetSafe is offering on this championship Sunday. 3 boosted bets in each game. In New England, Jacksonville, we have a special teams touchdown at 5-1. We have Leonard Fournette rushing for 125 yards or more at 3-1. And we have Tom Brady passing for 400 yards or more at 6-1. Of those 3 bets, my favorite is Leonard Fournette rushing for 125 yards or more. You know, we saw Fournette rush for 100 yards or more in 6 of the 15 games he played this season, including last week when he put 109 on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he only topped 125 yards twice, but the New England defense is vulnerable against the run. The Patriots surrendered 4.7 yards per carry this season and around 120 rushing yards per game, and Fournette has shown he can break off the big play. He has the speed to take it the distance, so I believe Fournette rushing for 125 yards or more might be a bet worth making at a price like 3-1. As far as the Minnesota-Philadelphia game goes, we have a touchdown of 80 yards or more at 7-1. We have Adam Thielen, Vikings receiver, with 150 receiving yards or more at 6-1. And we have Alshon Jeffrey, Eagles receiver, with 125 receiving yards or more at 4-1. You know, of those 3 bets, I think I kind of like the touchdown of 80 yards or more. We've seen the Eagles secondary surrender some big plays this season. I do expect Minnesota to take some shots downfield in this game. And the Vikings secondary could have some injury concerns. We saw Andrew Sendejo leave last week's game with a concussion. He is questionable this week. And a price like 7-1, very juicy for that bet. So a touchdown of 80 yards or more, that might be a bet worth making. There you have it, folks. Those are my thoughts for this championship Sunday. As always, I wish you best luck no matter what you decide to do, just so long as your interests don't conflict with my interests. For BetSafe, I'm John Arnett.